But it is time for our midseason report cards. Who's getting a passing grade and who needs a little bit more time in study hall? And for that, we're going to bring in our ballpark professors. We've got Jim Bowden and Matt Snyder. They're stepping up in front of the classroom to hand out some grades to, let's say, teams with those playoff aspirations. And guys, June 13th, the Yankees, 4.5 games up on the division there in the AL East, 10-15 since. Jim, I'll start with you. I have to imagine your midseason grade isn't going to be great here.
It is going to be great. I'm going to give them a solid B because think about where they are right now. They lost their two best pitchers to injuries. They haven't pitched, Garrett Cole and Lewis Heel. In the offseason, they lost their superstar Juan Soto to the New York Mets when they gave him $765 million. And so what did they do? They pivoted for two veterans, and Cody Bellinger and Paul Goldschmidt. Both have delivered for them. They have four young players in their lineup that have produced: Ben Rice, Austin Wells, Anthony Volpe, and on the mound, Will Warren. And so when I look at the Yankees and I consider the injuries, I consider the pivot after Soto, the fact they're only 2 games behind the Blue Jays in the NL East, I still think they're the team to beat in the NL East. And I think if GM Brian Cashman can go get a starting pitcher and a third baseman at the deadline, I think they're going to have a chance to get back to the World Series. So based on everything they've been through, I'm going to give them a solid B.
Yeah, he's a little nicer than I am there, and there are definitely fair points on stuff that they can't control, such as the injuries there. But I look at it from the perspective of the Yankees were in the World Series last year, but they didn't win it. They haven't won it since 2009. That's just not good enough for Yankees fans, and for them to not be in first place right now, I'm going to arrive at a C for them. They had a 7-game lead at one point. They were 17 games over 500. They've been pretty bad since then, so that drops them down. I think at that point when they had a 7-game lead, they would have had an A or A+. But since then, they've lowered themselves, for me, to a C. And again, maybe I'm being a little bit too hard on them, but I feel like the bar is higher for certain teams, and the Yankees are one of those teams. And with the bar being that high, I'm going to drop them down to a C here.
Yeah, context is everything for sure. But Matt, let's stick in New York real quick. The Mets also struggling in that time frame. They had that long losing streak. So are you going to be a little nicer to the Mets than you were to the Yankees?
A little bit, but not overly so. I'll go B. I even thought about B-. Look, coming off an NLCS, they signed Juan Soto to that gigantic deal in the offseason. Expectations were sky high. They were one of the best teams in baseball for quite a while, and now they're in the wild card spot. Not being in first place, I feel like, given their expectations, that just shouldn't be good enough to get an A, and they're 8-17 in their last 25 games. So they have had a lot of injuries in the pitching staff, but I don't know if David Stearns really did enough with the pitching staff in the offseason. So you could say, yeah, they've had injuries in the rotation, but did they prepare enough for the kind of rotation that they need to have to win the NL East and then get to the World Series, which should be their expectations?
Yeah, I gave them a solid B, the same grade I gave the Yankees. Why? They're in the exact same spot as the Yankees, right? They're in second place. They're a game and a half behind the Philadelphia Phillies, and they're in the middle of the race. And look, I think when the season started, we thought this offense had a chance to be special. It hasn't really turned out that way. We had the injury to Francisco Alvarez, and he came back and didn't hit. He had the injury to Mark Vientos, and then when he came back, he didn't hit. You know, they're in the middle of the pack in runs scored, right? They ranked 14th out of the 30 teams, but Pete Alonso and Juan Soto have both hit 21 homers, and Francisco Lindor and Brandon Nimmo have added 18 apiece. So if they can get some depth in the lineup, that should improve. I think what I've been impressed with is the starting pitching of the Mets. They're 6 out of the 30 teams in team ERA, and oh, by the way, they have 4 starters: David Peterson, Holmes, Canning, Tyler McGill, and even Senga. All 5 have ERAs under 4. So David Stearns has done a great job with his pitching room. Yes, they need to get a couple of relievers at the trade deadline, but with Senga now healthy, Sean Manaea coming back healthy, this Mets team's in a really good position. I'm going to give them a solid B like the Yankees, and like the Yankees, I can't wait to cover both of these teams in the postseason, which we will do.
Now, one team I think we can all agree on will probably be in the postseason will be the Dodgers. Guys, as expected, a juggernaut heading into the year, maybe the highest expectations of any team coming into the season. Jim, they've got the second best record in baseball right now. Does the 6-game losing streak that they've got rolling with at the moment, does that dock them any points in your mind?
I was a GM for parts of 17 years, and you don't go on a roller coaster. Yankees have now won 4 in a row, right? Everyone was burying them a week ago. No, I don't. I'm not going to get caught up in the emotion. This little 6-game losing streak, you realize in 5 of the 6 games they've scored 2 runs or less. And why do I bring that up? They have scored more runs than any team in baseball, 504. They are second to the Yankees in home runs. They are second to the Yankees in OPS. That's how good the offense has been. Now, I want you to think about this for a minute, because I gave them a straight A, and well-deserved. They're 56-38 with the best record of the National League. Now, I want you to consider this. They have that record with that offense, and now keep in mind, one of their best starters, Blake Snell, has made a total of 2 starts and is still on the IL. One of their best starters, Tyler Glasnow, has made a total of 6 starts. Roki Sasaki's made 8 starts. Tony Gonsolin, 7 starts. Clayton Kershaw, 10 starts. Like, the only starter that has made his regular turn is Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who's made 18 starts. And so with all those starters injured, and they're still in first place with the best record in the league, of course they get a straight A.
Yes, so I'm realizing that I'm just the mean one here because I don't have an A here. I have a B+. I wasn't willing to go any lower than B+. Overall, great. Everything Jim said, so true. I agree with. They're in a great position. They've done a great job in spite of all those injuries and all the issues they've gone through. I just thought World Series champion, another huge offseason, gigantic payroll. They looked so good heading into the year. There were people actually discussing whether they were too good, that it was bad for the sport that they were so good, and they don't even have the best record right now, and they're 56-38. If they were 66-28, I would say A. 56-38, that feels like a B+ for me, given the incredibly high bar that they've set for themselves and the expectations.
Real quick, I think Matt's going to be the professor where the line for extra credit is out the door at the end of the year. Try to bump up those grades before you hit summer break. All right, Matt, let's stay out west. The Giants, maybe they made the biggest trade of the season so far, obviously, bringing Rafael Devers over from Boston. How do you grade them through this point, and how much did that move the needle for you?
Yeah, I'm a B+ on the Giants. I wasn't willing to go with an A because they've been pretty mediocre since the start of May, but they're in playoff position right now. They're in second place. Most people thought heading into the year that they would be 4th place in the NL West. So given where they are, given that versus the expectations, I'm on a B+. I think they should be very happy with themselves.
I gave them a straight B because the pitching staff is so good. They're first in the NL in team ERA, and Robbie Ray and Logan Webb give them 2 aces at the top. But the reason I couldn't go higher than a B, they're 20th in baseball in runs scored. Their big investment in the offseason, Willy Adames, is hitting 222. Their big trade in June, Rafael Devers, is hitting 225. Matt Chapman has been on the IL for a lot of this season. Now, that being said, I think all 3 of these guys are going to have great second halves, and I think we will be covering San Francisco in the postseason.
Okay, all right. Well, I like the grades so far, but I have a feeling we're going to see a downshift in a moment. Jim, talk about the Pirates here for a second. Just how much are they letting Paul Skeens down and how that affects your midseason grade for them?
Oh, a lot. I mean, it's terrible, right? I gave them a grade D, and I felt like I was doing them a favor. I gave them a D instead of an F because they have Paul Skeens. And by the way, their pitching staff, let's give them credit, right? Of the 15 teams in the American League, they rank 5th in team ERA, believe it or not. And Mitch Keller and Andrew Heaney have done a good job in the rotation behind Skeens. They lost Jared Jones to an injury, and the back of the bullpen has been so good with David Bednar and Dennis Santana that every contender in baseball is trying to trade for them. But the reason they get a D is the following. Last in the NL in runs scored, last in the NL in home runs, last in the NL in OPS.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I have an F for them. I mean, obviously I'm the mean one anyway, but look, heading into the year, we knew the pitching staff was going to be good. You've got Paul Skeens, Jared Jones, who went down, unfortunately, Mitch Keller. Skeens is not even making $1 million a year. He's really, really cheap, and they didn't do anything to improve the offense. Their biggest offensive addition was Spencer Horwitz. I mean, get out of here. You've got to try to build around Skeens before he gets expensive, and they didn't even do that. It's a complete missed opportunity by the front office, so I'm an F on this one.
Matt, my favorite, I think, stat is run differential. The Cubs, they have the best run differential right now in baseball. Can we just pull the big red Sharpie out and give them an A here?
Absolutely. I'm not even going to argue here. I'm not even going to be mean on this one. Cubs are an A. They're in first place. Great season for the Cubs so far.
Matt, you got it right. I love it. I'm with you. Straight A for the Cubs. And let's give some love to the middle of that lineup. PCA, the quickest in baseball history at a young age to 25 homers and 27 steals at the same season before the All-Star break. Absolutely love it. How about their trade for Kyle Tucker? 17 homers, 55 RBIs. Can someone tell me why Seiya Suzuki isn't in the All-Star game with his 25 homers and 77 RBIs? Come on now. Look, they are second in runs in the National League to the Los Angeles Dodgers. They are third in home runs behind only the Yankees and the Dodgers, and they've done it with an injury to Justin Steele, who's finished for the year. What a great comeback season for Matthew Boyd. Matt is totally right. Straight A for the Cubbies, baby. But they better watch out for Milwaukee, because with Brandon Woodruff back and the promotion of Jacob Mizorowski, they're going to give the Cubs a run in the second half. You watch.
All right, guys, I want to go back to the AL East for a second. We were talking about the Yankees and how they let that lead atop of that division go. So, Matt, circling back there, what do you make of the job that the Blue Jays have done to not only catch but pass the Yankees this last month?
Oh, absolutely incredible. I'm an A on the Blue Jays. So I like that we ended, or that we now finally got to the Cubs and Blue Jays, so I could quit acting like I'm a Scrooge here. I think I've got 2 A's in a row. Look, heading into the year, remember, a lot of people thought the Orioles were going to win the East. The Yankees looked like a strong contender for the AL East, and they're probably going to win it, but I think they're going to have their hands full with the Blue Jays. You would have been justified to pick the Rays to win the East. The Red Sox were kind of a sexy pick, trendy pick for many. And instead, we've got the Blue Jays in first place. The offense is riding totally high right now, and they're doing it without Anthony Santander, their big offseason acquisition. So I'm an A on the Blue Jays. You could even say A+ here. The Blue Jays are having an incredible run right now.
Yeah, I give them an A as well, because how many teams have you ever seen were 20th in team ERA, 12th in runs scored, and were 54 and 39? Like, you never see that. And they've been able to do it because they have a great vibe going on at the Rogers Center. They are outscoring everybody. They're not outpitching anybody, but they're outscoring everybody. And there's 2 guys that really stick out to me that we have to talk about. George Springer, who we thought was aging and declining, looked like his career was over. His bat speed is better than it was in his days with Houston right now. It has never been better, and he's got 16 home runs for them. And how about the rookie third baseman, Addison Barger, with 12 homers and 30 RBIs, and Vladimir Guerrero Jr., living up to the $500 million contract. How about Bo Bichette on his free agent year? He's contributing as well. 4 hitters getting it done. And by the way, at the top of the rotation, we don't talk enough about Chris Bassett, Jose Barrios, and Kevin Gausman. 3 really solid starters. But that being said, the Blue Jays will not win this division.
Wow, okay. You know, you guys teased me, Jacqueline, about being Miami Mike. One time for the jacket for Jim. Our very fair, our very esteemed professors, Jim Bowden, Matt Snyder, thank you so much for these mid-season report cards. The Dodgers still have the best odds to win the World Series. Of course, defending champs at plus 220, followed by that best team right now in the American League, the Tigers, at plus 700.